Hey folks, welcome back for another build video where we're looking at the new Axel named backpack from the Shiny Monkey brand set. And at its core, this build focuses on two things: the Perfect Energize talent and the Perfectly Efficient talent. So comparing Perfect Energize to Energize, the only difference here is the cooldown time, which has been cut from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. And that is absolutely crucial for this build, which is an update on a build we did a long time ago, which had some sort of silly title like Unlimited Overcharge for 45 seconds, which centered around using three different talents: Energize, Future Perfection, and Transference Overclock to proc overcharge back to back to back, giving you 45 seconds of constant overcharge, assuming you could time them correctly. So across all three talents, overcharge is limited to 15-second chunks. Those can overlap, but they do not stack on top of each other. So proccing overcharge with Energize and then proccing it with Future Perfection is not going to give you some sort of double overcharge. They're just going to overlap each other and then run out one after the other. So as with our previous video, what we would recommend here is using Energize to initially proc your overcharge, followed by Future Perfection and then Transference Overclock on your gloves. The caveats here are: Energize does require using an armor kit to proc, Future Perfection requires one kill with your weapon, which is something you're going to have to fight your skills to get, and Transference Overclock on your gloves obviously requires you detonating a hive, meaning you have to have a hive of some sort equipped. As you can see down there, we've gone with the Assault Turret and the Stinger Hive, part of my personal playstyle of hunker down and hide in a corner. But if you personally feel like you can get away with different skill combinations to make this overcharge work even better, you are more than free to do so. The main focus of this build is updating the old version with Perfect Energize and showing how that works even better than before. So we'll get back to all of those overclock talents, but first and foremost, let's talk about our specialization here. We've gone with the Technician, primarily for the amped talent, giving us +1 skill tier, as that means we don't have to reroll our chest piece, which natively drops with an armor core, to a skill tier, just so we can get 6 skill tiers. For primary weapon, we've gone with the Capacitor this time. On the previous build, we had the Test Subject for Perfectly in Sync, but this time around, we've gone with the Capacitance talent. It technically has a higher ceiling in terms of available skill damage. It also gives you half a weapon damage core for each of the 6 skill tiers that you have. So with Overcharge being so much easier and faster to get this time around, I felt that the Capacitor Assault Rifle was a better pairing with this Perfect Energize talent than the previous Test Subject. For secondary weapon, we still have Mechanical Animal, which does come with the Future Perfection talent. Weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 19 seconds, which stacks up to 4 times, and weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds, and the overcharge cooldown there is 90 seconds. For sidearm, we've gone with the Card 45 with the In Sync talent, which increases both your skill damage and your weapon damage and doubles both of those buffs if both are active at the same time. It's a nice little thing to be able to turn to if you need it, but ideally you're only working with the Capacitor Assault Rifle and then swapping to the Mechanical Animal when you need to get that Future Perfection overcharge proc. For mask, we have our first of 3 pieces of Empress International. Even after it's debuffed, this is still a really great skill build brand set. The first bonus here gives +10% skill health, meaning that our Assault Turret is less likely to be shot down, and our Stinger Hive is less likely to be destroyed when we throw it out. On top of that, we have Armor Regen and Skill Damage as our secondary attributes, and Skill Haste in our mod slot there. If you would prefer, you can go with more Skill Haste in that Armor Regen slot. Personally, I find that that extra bit of armor regen helps me be a little more durable. I can be a little more aggressive with my playstyle and it keeps me upright. But I totally understand if you want to go with skill haste here, as it means that you have less downtime on that assault turret in particular. For a backpack, we have our one piece of Shiny Monkey gear, specifically the Axel named backpack with the Perfect Energize talent that we've already talked to quite a bit. But I will throw a chart up here comparing the old Energize and the new Perfect Energize talents, comparing their downtime. And given the lengths of encounters, that reduction of 30 seconds is pretty significant. I don't think I have to belabor that point too much, but I do want to convey how excited I am by this cooldown reduction on Perfect Energize. It just makes it so much easier, particularly when you pair it with the Everyday Carrier chest piece. This is Bellstone, so you get plus 1% armor regen, but more importantly, you get perfectly efficient. Using an armor kit has a 75% chance not to consume the armor kit, and specialization armor kit bonuses are increased by 100%, and it does require 10 seconds to arm the talent. So what that means is during gameplay, if you were to swap from a chest piece to this one, you have to wait 10 seconds before the perfectly efficient talent becomes active. I think that's primarily to stop people in PvP talent from swapping between two chest talents very quickly. Otherwise, in normal PvE play or in most people's standard play, this isn't going to be in effect at all. So for this build, the first paragraph there is all that really matters. And I will apologize in advance for anyone who doesn't like charts, but I'm going to use another one here pulled from a video where we went over how perfectly efficient really works. So each armor kit use has a 75% chance not to consume an armor kit. So boiling this chart down for you, what it means is you have a greater than 50% chance to get between 8 and 16 armor kit uses before you run out of armor kits, assuming you started with your standard 4. So to say that another way, you have between 8 and 16 uses. So to say that another way, you will be more likely than not to be able to proc overcharge between 8 and 16 times without needing to refill your armor kits at all. So assuming you get no armor kits during gameplay, you start with only your standard 4, you'll still be able to proc that backpack talent 8 to 16 times. This talent will allow you to rely on your armor kits as a way to proc Energize without running out. On top of that, we've also gone with armor regen, skill damage, and skill haste here in our mod slot. As with all of the other pieces on this build, if you don't want to go with armor regen, I would recommend going with skill haste instead. For gloves, we have the BTSU exotic data gloves, which come with skill haste and repair skills as your secondary attributes. Not the best for a build where we want skill damage, but since we're focusing on overcharge, the transference overclock talent comes in clutch, which grants plus 15% hive skill haste per skill tier, and detonating a hive refreshes your skill cooldowns and grants overcharge for 15 seconds. If at skill tier 6, this effect also applies to all allies. And then allies, including yourself, receiving this effect are unable to benefit from it again for 120 seconds. So looking at that chart, obviously this talent has the longest cooldown, but it is really great for two reasons. One of which is it is a third source of proccing overcharge. The second of which is something I think we breezed over in our previous video, but I want to point it out here. When you detonate the hive, you do refresh the skill cooldowns for both of your skills. So if your assault turret is on cooldown, you need it back instantaneously. You can detonate your stinger hive, get it back immediately, and you'll also get that hive back very rapidly, as you'll see in the video later. Those charges do recover particularly quickly when you pair it with the plus 15% hive skill haste per skill tier. And then for our holster, we have our second piece of Empress International giving us plus 10% skill damage. On top of that, we have skill damage and armor regen in our secondary attributes. And then for our knee pads, we have our third and final piece of Empress International giving us plus 8% skill efficiency. And as always, I will mention skill efficiency is a roll up attribute containing skill damage, skill haste, skill duration, skill health, skill repairs, and status effects. So even though it has been nerfed from 10 to 8% in recent memory, it is still a very effective brand bonus, given that it applies all of those attributes at a 1-to-1 ratio. For skills, we've gone with Assault Turret and the Stinger Hive. The Stinger Hive is because we need a way to proc Transference Overclock. On top of that, the Stinger Hive is just a really great hunker down skill. So as you'll see in the video, I will deploy both the Assault Turret and then deploy the Stinger Hive near me. While it can be used tactically if you want to throw it into a group of enemies, I will primarily use this Stinger Hive as a defensive skill more than anything. So whenever enemies get near me into the range of the Stinger Hive, they'll generally get chased off by the Stinger Hive's charges. And then when you do get the overcharge of the Stinger Hive, you get a massive range increase, meaning that even if its origin point is near you, it still can reach a great number of your enemies depending on the particular. And then of course here we have the Assault Turret, just another skill that I think really benefits from having overcharge. given that it's almost constantly out during an encounter. The two things that Overcharge really does for this skill is increases your damage and also increases the health of the skill. So while it's on Overcharge, you don't have to worry about it getting destroyed, and it can do a massive amount of damage to any enemy within its line of sight. So with that, I want to wrap up this build talking about Perfect Energize a little bit more. So given the decrease in the skill cooldown, you can now proc Perfect Energize once every 30 seconds, and the overcharge will last 15 seconds, meaning that you only effectively have a 15-second downtime for this talent, which can be subsidized by the Future Perfection talent on your Mechanical Animal Assault Rifle or the Transference Overclock skill on your BTSU Data Gloves. But even if you just use the Perfect Energize talent on this build, you're going to be getting a full 15 seconds of overcharge for every 30 seconds of cooldown, which makes it a great way to proc overcharge on both your Assault Turret and your Stinger Hive. So with that in mind, take this one out for a spin. Let us know what you think of in the comments below. As always, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and please tell your friends about the channel so you can continue to help us grow and make videos like these. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay following this ramble, and we will see you in the next one.
Don't understand. I've got the goddamn division breathing down my neck. Just tell me walk.
Give him an earpiece and get him on comms.